Imagine yourself at 16 years old, you're out to dinner with your family, and the waitress comes up to you and says, "Hi ma'am, what kind of wine would you like with your entree this evening?" Here in the US, never. In the UK, probably, but why? Why is it that the US has different drinking laws than the UK does? It's probably because Europeans view alcohol very differently than Americans do, and this can cause teenagers to view it differently as well. They can either indulge more in it or they can indulge less, depending on where you come from. Are there a lot of misconceptions that we have toward underage drinking in general? Of course we do. But there are ways to prevent these further misconceptions from developing, and there are a couple ways to do that. One is to come together as a nation and get behind the facts of laws and statistics in regard to drinking, find ways to erase the stigmatism behind drinking, and to adopt other countries' customs and traditions of drinking to understand how they're so successful in preventing a large number of underage drinking. Everyone is aware that the legal drinking age in the US is 21. Now, this includes drinking and purchasing alcohol. But what people don't know is that in the Minimum Legal Drinking Age Act of 1984, it states a lot more than just you can't drink until you're 21. On the Alcohol Policy Information System's website, it clearly states that there are quite a few exceptions to just being 21 in order to drink. A few of these include if you're accompanied by a spouse or legal guardian over the age of 21 for any religious reason, if you're advised by a medical professional, or you're in a private establishment. And these are just to name a few. Many people don't know that these exclusions are in that law because people don't take the time to read it, and we kind of just take everyone's word for it. Additionally, there are a ton of benefits to drinking red wine. So why don't we allow our children to drink it? The Mayo Clinic states that red wine contains antioxidants known as polyphenol to protect the lining and blood vessels that are in the heart. This protection can prevent a multitude of health issues that include coronary artery disease, cholesterol buildup, or even heart attacks. They've also mentioned that this does not exclude white wine either, because they both derive from grapes. Not only that, but people believe that underage drinking is extremely high on the rise, which is not true at all. It's actually the total opposite. According to the CDC, drinking nearly declined 20% within the first 5 years of passing the drinking law. Since 1980, in which case it used to sit at 93% of high school seniors that drank alcohol at least once in their life. And now in 2018, it says that it got down to 58%. So I wonder where we're at now in 2020. But why is it that we let these few bad apples still give us this idea that, oh my gosh, there's so many people underage drinking? It's because we have this underlying stigmatism toward underage drinking as a whole. A smart person once said, "Perception is reality," and that's kind of how we view underage drinking. According to an article done by Dr. David Hansen, he states that when people have a mindset of, oh, well, everyone's doing it, a lot more people are going to want to do it. You may think this is a little bit strange, but it's actually normal human behavior, especially for teenagers, because their frontal lobe is not fully developed, so they kind of just go with the flow. Ideally, if everyone were to change their thoughts on how much drinking actually occurs, things would be a lot different. If adults were to open up conversations about how much adults drink, then teenagers would be more understanding as to, oh, well, it's not that hype, or it's not that, oh, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna go do that, and then I'm gonna go drink with my friends. It's really not all about that. It's more of a social gathering, and it's actually a lot more low-key than people think it is. When we show teens that drinking in moderation is more socially acceptable and actually more an occurrence than just binge drinking is, then they're more likely to grasp that action and go along with that. Understanding what drinking in moderation is a huge factor as well. The CDC says that for women, at least 1 cup of wine is considered to be moderation. For men over the age of 65, drinking in moderation is considered to be 1 drink as well. For those under the age of 65 and you're a male, it has to be 2 drinks of wine. Now, 1 cup of wine is 5 ounces, so typically it's about 10 ounces for males at very least. Now, if we understand that drinking in moderation happens more often than not, it'll kind of get rid of that stigmatism that we have towards drinking in general, and then it will eliminate what we think towards underage drinking as well. Not to mention the fact that there are tons of benefits to your heart when you do drink wine. Now, when we look at other countries, we realize that a lot more people drink or allow people to drink at the age of 18 than not, which include a bunch of states and a bunch of countries over in Europe. I have a friend that once explained to me the drinking and how it works in Italy. He says that it's more socially acceptable to have a glass or two of wine at home during dinner time with your family than it is for you to go out in public and drink a bunch of liquor and stuff like that. That's a little bit less socially acceptable. And this is specific to Italy. I also found that in an article written on Drink Aware, which is a UK trusted website, it states that that it is legal for anyone over the age of 18 to purchase beer, wine, or cider for anyone who is 16 and above. It also states that children between the ages of 5 to 16 are allowed to drink alcohol at home. While it's not really recommended the younger you are to drink alcohol, it is still not illegal for you to drink alcohol at home. So tying in what happens in Italy and tying in the laws in UK, you can see how it's not that different. While some of it might be a little bit different, it's really just the same, and they understand alcohol and they view alcohol very similar, which is different than how the US does. And of course, despite the fact that these laws are a lot more lenient over in Europe, the underage drinking still occurs, of course, but it's not as prevalent as it is in the US. When you consider all things to be true, why is it so hard for us to think that we can change our societal view on drinking alcohol? Our misconceptions about teens are what fulfill our perception as well. They have this mindset of, oh, well, they think that we drink a lot anyway, so why not go ahead and do it? It drives them to drink, so we have to change our mindset. Not only that, but once we understand that even at a 16 year of age, drinking alcohol or wine per se is actually very beneficial to your heart. So why is it that we don't allow our children to indulge in that? There's a lot more positives to drinking red wine in moderation than there are to not drinking it at all. When we understand what drinking in moderation is, then it's a lot more easy to grasp drinking alcohol and not really want to get totally wasted, because you'll understand that drinking in moderation is better for you and is not as harsh, but you can still indulge in it just the same. Additionally, when we look at other countries, we realize that them allowing their children to have a glass or two of wine, especially in a family setting, it allows for them to be a lot more relaxed and chill, and they don't really view alcohol as, oh my gosh, this is my freedom time to go and party and drink whatever and get totally wasted. They don't have that mindset because they've already been introduced to alcohol at home in a very societally approved environment. So, can we get rid of this negative, looming stigmatism about drinking alcohol? Knowing all that you know now, what kind of wine would you like with that?